The old tractor rattled softly as it rolled over the sun-bleached grass. The air thick with the golden quiet of late summer. 73-year-old Harold Bennett, a retired war veteran turned hobby farmer, wiped sweat from his brow. This field, nestled behind his countryside home in Yorkshire, it was his sanctuary ever since Margaret passed 5 years ago. He was checking the irrigation lines, as he'd done 1,000 times before. Just 20 feet away, his German shepherd, Rusty, paced the edge of the field. Rusty, loyal, intuitive, never more than a few yards from Harold's side. But this time something shifted. Harold reached for a loose pipe, when suddenly he staggered. His hand clutched his chest, pain like lightning through his left arm. The sky blurred. He dropped to his knees, then collapsed into the hay-strewn dirt. Rusty's ears shot up. He sprinted to his owner, nudging Harold's motionless body with his snout, whining frantically. No response. For the first time in his life, Rusty felt panic, and he made a decision, one that would soon make headlines across the country. Comment your city or town below if you've ever known a dog like Rusty. These stories, they deserve to be shared. Rusty barked, circled Harold's body, then bolted toward the distant barn, where the tractor, Harold's custom self-driving unit, was still idling. It was meant to slowly water the field, but Rusty leapt in front of it, barking furiously. The tractor wasn't designed to detect dogs. Its sensors, old, outdated, it rolled forward steadily. But Rusty lunged, again and again, barking louder, blocking its path, refusing to move. The stubborn machine paused, just for a second, just long enough for something else to intervene. Across the road, young farmhand Jason Carter was feeding cattle. He heard the barking. It was different this time, urgent, desperate, not playful or casual. Jason grabbed his binoculars, peered across the pasture, and froze. There was Rusty, standing firm in front of a moving tractor, barking like mad. And just behind it, something crumpled on the ground. Jason dropped everything and sprinted. Jason hurdled a fence, dodged irrigation hoses, bolted across the uneven ground. His boots pounded the soil as Rusty kept barking, pacing. By the time Jason reached Harold's side, his heart was hammering, almost as hard as his worry. "Mr. Bennett," Jason shouted, dropping to his knees. Harold's face pale, lips tinged blue. His breaths shallow, sporadic. Jason checked for a pulse. It was there, but faint. He pulled out his phone, hands shaking, and dialed emergency services. Rusty never left Harold's side. Even as Jason began light compressions, Rusty stood over Harold's chest, licking his hand, nuzzling his face, as if to say, "Don't you dare leave me too." "Hold on, old man," Jason whispered, voice cracking. "Help is coming." Less than 6 minutes later, the faint wail of sirens broke through the quiet countryside air. The ambulance sped across the gravel path, tires kicking up dust, screeching to a halt near the field's edge. 2 paramedics jumped out, hauling their gear, as Jason waved them over frantically. Rusty barked once, then backed away slowly, never taking his eyes off Harold. "He collapsed, chest pain," Jason explained, breathless. "Heart attack," one medic muttered, after checking Harold's vitals. "BP's low, we're losing time." They worked fast, oxygen mask, nitroglycerin, defibrillator ready just in case. Rusty whimpered from the side, eyes wide, locked on Harold's still body. One paramedic paused, startled. "Is that dog crying?" Rusty let out a low, mournful whine. His tail low, ears drooped, his entire posture screaming grief. "We'll take him too," the other medic said. "He's part of this rescue." Jason opened the ambulance doors. Rusty leapt in without hesitation, never looking away from Harold, not even for a second. The emergency room at Kingston General, unusually quiet that night. But Harold's arrival, it shattered the stillness. Nurses rushed him into the cardiac unit, while Rusty sat obediently in the waiting area, his leash tied to Jason's chair. But the leash wasn't necessary. Rusty wouldn't have moved an inch without orders. Jason stayed too, though he wasn't family. He just couldn't bring himself to leave. He petted Rusty's head gently, whispering, "He's tough, buddy. He'll pull through." Hours passed. Midnight came and went. Rusty never lay down. Every time the ER doors slid open, his ears perked up, his body tensed, hoping it was Harold. Finally, a doctor emerged, middle-aged, weary-eyed, but with a faint smile. "He made it," she said. "Severe cardiac episode, but if help had come even 5 minutes later..." Her voice trailed off, but the meaning was clear. "Can I see him?" Jason asked. The doctor hesitated. "He's resting now. But maybe, just maybe, we can make an exception." Rusty was already standing. Harold lay there, connected to monitors and tubes, chest slowly rising and falling. When the door creaked open, his eyes fluttered, just enough to see Jason, and then Rusty. Rusty," he croaked. Rusty whimpered, carefully placing his front paws on the side of the hospital bed, tail gently wagging. One of Harold's fingers moved slightly, and Rusty pressed his nose into Harold's hand, letting out a deep sigh, as if he could finally breathe again. A nurse, watching from the doorway, blinked back tears. "That dog never left his side." Jason stepped forward. "He blocked your tractor, wouldn't let it roll over you. That's how I spotted you." Harold tried to smile. "That old mutt always was smarter than me." "No," Jason said, "just loyal." The doctor, seeing the scene, allowed Rusty to stay the night. "I've seen therapy dogs," she said, "but this one's something else." By morning, a hospital staff member had posted a photo of Rusty curled at Harold's bedside. Within hours, the story went viral. Headlines began to appear. "Dog blocks tractor to save collapsed owner, a hero with 4 paws." News vans lined the hospital's small parking lot. Local stations called him Rusty the Guardian. People from the US, UK, Canada flooded social media with praise. Love for the shepherd who refused to let tragedy win. Harold, recovering in his hospital bed, couldn't quite believe it all. "I'm just an old man with a loyal dog," he said humbly. But to millions watching online, it wasn't just about Rusty. It was about love that never hesitates, loyalty that doesn't require command, and a dog who refused to leave his person behind. The hospital received over 3,000 letters in a single week. Handwritten notes from seniors, veterans, widows, many who saw in Harold and Rusty something deeply familiar. When Harold was discharged 2 weeks later, the town of Kingston threw a small but heartfelt celebration. The local mayor presented Rusty with a blue ribbon. It read, "Honorary Protector of Kingston." Harold chuckled as Rusty sat beside him on stage, tail wagging shyly. "He never asked for attention," Harold said. "All he wanted was to make sure I got home." Veterans from the local VFW chapter saluted Harold and Rusty together. Children from the nearby primary school drew crayon posters of Rusty standing guard over a man in the grass. One older woman approached quietly. "Your dog reminded me of my husband's German shepherd, saved him in Nam. Never thought I'd feel that memory again." Harold's voice cracked. "Thank you, ma'am. I think Rusty reminds a lot of people of someone they loved." The story had gone far beyond Kingston, but to Harold, the greatest reward was holding Rusty's head in his lap that night at home, whispering, "You saved my life, boy. I'll never forget it." A few weeks after the celebration, Harold sat by his fireplace, nursing a cup of tea, watching Rusty snooze by the hearth. The autumn wind rattled the window panes. The old farmhouse smelled of pine logs and applewood. That's when he spotted the envelope. Green-colored, handwritten, postmarked from Toronto. Curious, he opened it slowly. It was from Eleanor, 81 years old. She'd seen the news story and felt compelled to write. "My husband passed 2 winters ago. He had a German shepherd named Max, who guarded his bedside through every stage of cancer. Seeing Rusty brought it all back. I wept, not from sadness, but from gratitude. Thank you for sharing Rusty with us. It reminded me that love never leaves. It just finds new fur." Harold swallowed hard. Tears blurred the words. He placed the letter gently on the mantel, beside a framed photo of Margaret. "See, love," he murmured aloud. "His healing heart, we've never even met." Later that month, an unexpected guest. A woman in her 30s, neatly dressed, wearing a hospital ID badge. "Mr. Bennett, I'm Dr. Carolyn." I'm part of the animal-assisted therapy program at the regional VA hospital. Harold invited her in, puzzled. I've been following Rusty's story, she explained, and I wanted to ask, would you consider letting Rusty visit some of our patients? Harold looked at Rusty, now wagging his tail politely at the visitor. You think he's got the right temperament? She smiled. Sir, he has the heart of a soldier and the patience of a saint. Our veterans would be lucky to meet him. Harold thought for a moment. Margaret would have loved this idea. All right, he said, but only if I can tag along. He's not going anywhere without me. Dr. Lynn laughed. Deal! Their first visit to the VA hospital was quiet. Rusty wore a simple red therapy vest. Harold, in his best flannel, held the leash loosely, not that it was ever needed. Rusty didn't bark. He didn't jump. He simply walked from room to room, pausing at each bedside, like he understood exactly who needed him. In room 6B, a double amputee hadn't spoken in days. When Rusty nudged his arm gently, the man whispered, "You remind me of Bear." In vault C, a blind veteran felt Rusty's head in his lap and smiled for the first time in months. Nurses called it a miracle. Harold just called it Rusty being Rusty. By the end of the day, both man and dog were exhausted, but something deeper had shifted. Rusty hadn't just saved Harold. He was helping others too, people who'd long forgotten what hope felt like. And each week they returned. 1 year after the incident in the field, Harold stood under a newly planted oak tree near the edge of his property. A small plaque lay beneath it, etched in brass, "To Rusty, guardian, friend, hero. He stood between a man and his end and chose love." Rusty, now with a few more gray hairs on his muzzle, sat beside him. Eyes bright, ears perked, Harold spoke softly, voice filled with emotion. "We've had quite the year, haven't we, boy?" From a distance, Jason waved from the barn, and Dr. Lynn approached with a group of veterans who now called the farm their retreat. It had become a place of peace and purpose. And at the heart of it all was one quiet, loyal German shepherd who simply refused to let his friend die alone in a field. Because sometimes the smallest actions leave the deepest marks. And sometimes a dog doesn't just save a life, he changes it forever. If you've ever known a loyal dog like Rusty, share your story in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more real-life stories that touch the heart.